People love to hate, and they really love to hate on big companies, whether or not they have a reason to. But sometimes there is a reason, or as in this case, several solid reasons, as we'll see in this video. What makes a company evil? Is it that they want water to be controlled by businessmen? Is water a right or a privilege? Is it right for a company to blatantly ignore health rules and restrictions before putting a product on the shelf of your local grocery store? Should companies allow discrimination against women in the workplace? The Nestlé Corporation only has one goal in mind: money. They do whatever is humanly possible to keep making big bucks, including hiding all of the incriminating accusations and discoveries about their products. Nestlé began in Switzerland in the mid-1860s, when founder Henry Nestlé created one of the first baby formulas. Henry realized the need for a healthy and economical product to serve as an alternative for mothers who could not breastfeed their babies. Nestlé expands across many different markets, including beverages, ice cream, baby foods/formulas, soups, frozen foods, snacks, pet care, and, of course, candy. They have 447 factories across 194 countries and employ around 333,000 people. They truly are what you would call a giant. Looking at only these stats, it would seem that Nestlé is one of the good guys. But then why are they so hated? Let's take it step by step. Child labor, unethical promotion, manipulating uneducated mothers, pollution, price fixing, and mislabeling. Those are not words you want to see associated with a company. We are in the 90s, and this is a sad story about poverty, breastfeeding, and greed. Nestlé aggressively pushed their breastfeeding formula in less economically developed countries, specifically targeting the poor. They made it seem that their infant formula was almost as good as a mother's milk, which is highly unethical for several reasons. The first problem was the need for water sanitation. Most of the groups they were targeting, especially in Africa, didn't have access to clean water, so it was necessary for them to boil the water. But due to low literacy rates, many mothers were not aware of this, so they mixed the formula with polluted water, which put the children at great risks. Nestlé seems to have knowingly ignored this, and encouraged mothers to use the formula even when they knew the risks. But even if the water was boiled, and even if the formula was administered in the right proportion and in the right quantity, it is lacking in many of the nutrients and antibodies that breast milk provides. Breast milk contains the required amount of the nutrients essential for brain and nerve development, and to some extent protects the baby from many diseases and potential infections. According to the International Baby Food Action Network, Nestlé used unethical methods to promote their infant formula to poor mothers in developing countries. But it gets even worse. IBFAN claims that Nestlé distributes free formula samples to hospitals and maternity wards. After leaving the hospital, the formula is no longer free. But because the supplementation has interfered with lactation, the family must continue to buy the formula. It's not clear how many lives were lost directly and indirectly due to this aggressive marketing campaign, and of course Nestlé does not claim responsibility for these tragedies. But it was easy for them, as it was easy for everybody else to see the risks and the negative effects their formula was having. It would have been easy for them to save many lives, but they chose the money instead. Let's move on. Few people know it, but Nestlé is actually the world's largest producer of bottled water. In fact, they're so keen on their water business that they believe water isn't a universal right. According to Nestlé chairman Peter Breivik, clean water is not a human right. Together with other companies, they've persuaded the World Water Council to change the designation of water to be a human need instead of a human right, making clean water a luxury and dirty water the standard. Their technique is to buy clean water sources particularly, such as aquifers, and sell it back to the community at a marked-up price. In the small Pakistani community of Bati Dilwan, a former village councillor says children are being sickened by filthy water. Who's to blame? He says it's bottled water maker Nestlé, which dug a deep well that is depriving locals of potable water. A Chicago-based business has sued the company again, claiming that the 5-gallon jugs of Ice Mountain water they bought were nothing else than tap water. It may come as a shock to you, but nearly half of the bottled water in PET plastic bottles is actually from a tap, though Nestlé never advertised this. Unless they're buying the fancy stuff with all those special seals, there's a good chance that when people around the world eat a chocolate bar, they're also biting into tasty, tasty child slave labor. Nestlé is, of course, not the only chocolate manufacturer to source its cocoa beans from ethically questionable suppliers. But as the largest food company in the world, it bears a somewhat outsized responsibility to ensure it's not exploiting children who spend their days swinging machetes, spraying pesticides, and carrying loads up to 100 pounds for nearly non-existent wages in West Africa. In 2001, Nestlé joined the two other big boys of the chocolate world, Mars and Hershey, in a pledge to phase out just the worst forms of child labor within 4 years. But every time that deadline gets extended, they fail to meet it. They claim that it's simply impossible to figure out exactly which farms they get their stuff from, which is weird because there's apparently nothing stopping journalists from just walking onto random farms in West Africa, asking questions, and getting surprisingly honest answers. In 2005, after they failed to meet their first deadline, they were sued by a group of children who claimed they were trafficked to the Ivory Coast from Mali for the purpose of working on cocoa plantations. In the end, the Supreme Court dismissed the case, but only because they determined that international practices couldn't be subjected to American laws. As with any respectable large company, Nestlé has been involved in several incidents regarding pollution. It is estimated that some 95,000 metric tons of mismanaged plastic waste, i.e. burnt or dumped, is created by Nestlé every year across these 6 developing nations. This is enough plastic waste to cover more than 15 football pitches a day. The company's biggest plastic pollution footprint is in the Philippines, where approximately 35,500 metric tons is produced per year. This was followed by Brazil, which is Nestlé's third leading market based on sales. Nestlé claims to be the world's leading nutrition, health, and wellness company, but when it comes to food marketing to kids, Nestlé is a laggard, not a leader. That Nestlé is promoting unhealthy food should come as no surprise, but the level at which they operate it is simply staggering. A recent report by the UK Consumers Association claims that 7 out of the 15 breakfast cereals with the highest levels of sugar, fat, and salt were Nestlé products. Nestlé dismissed all responsibility in promoting healthy food. To pour even more salt in the food's wound, Mr. Breivik came out with a dismissive interview in The Telegraph, claiming that he is not obese, yet every morning I have a tablet of dark chocolate as my breakfast, and that it is the perfect balance and contains everything he needs for the day. Hey, after all, who would actually think that Nestlé's cereals are healthy, right? But while Nestlé's labels aren't simply misleading, they have also been downright false. In November 2002, police ordered Nestlé Colombia to decommission 200 tons of imported powdered milk because they were falsely relabeled, not only as a different local brand, but also with a different production date. A month later, another 120 tons suffered the same fate, causing uproar among the Colombian population. Nestlé bringing old powdered milk from a different country and labeling it as local and new is not only unethical and illegal, but it poses health hazards for consumers. Nestlé could also be facing a consumer boycott after the government in Kyiv claimed that the company was complicit in the death of innocent civilians in Ukraine. Dmytro Kuleba, Ukraine's Minister of Foreign Affairs, took aim at the company in a scathing tweet, arguing the brand was allowing Russia's war of aggression in Europe to continue. By refusing to stop business activities in Russia, Nestlé allows Russia's war of aggression in Europe to continue. All major companies have incidents, accidents, and scandals. When you have so many people working for you, it's virtually impossible to maintain a clean sheet. But Nestlé has shown time and time again that they have few ethics and little interest in a real social responsibility. From promoting their formula to uneducated African mothers, to lying about production dates, to using water without a permit, to dealing with ruthless dictators, they have often gone the extra mile to make an extra profit, even when the extra mile meant hurting people, directly or indirectly. Well, that's it from this video. What do you think about Nestlé's evil practices? Do you think boycotting Nestlé will ever bring positive change on the planet? Share your thoughts by commenting below. If you enjoyed this video, hit like and share this video with your friends to help spread awareness. Also, consider subscribing to our channel for more interesting videos every week.